Hello and welcome to this League of Legends tutorial. This tutorial is going to show you how to run and install League of Legends on Ubuntu and its derivatives, such as Linux Mint and Ping iOS. This method is going to be using the PPA system. If you're not familiar with that, we'll get into that in a moment. Before we begin, I want to preface this by saying you will need a pretty decent video card. If you're running an NVIDIA card, make sure it is at least as powerful as an 8800 or an 8600 GT. If you're running an ATI card, make sure it's the equivalent of, with stream processors, memory, speed memory types, everything else, just like NVIDIA. It's, make sure it's the equivalent of a 3850 or a 4650 or higher. So something with, bare minimum on the ATI side of things, 400 stream processors, preferably a lot more, but that should be the bare minimum. On the NVIDIA side of things, they've changed their architecture a few times, so I don't want to go into the exact number of, processors or shader cores or anything like that, but just something a little bit more powerful than an 8600 should suffice. That being said, let's go ahead and dive into what we're going to be using. Now, we're going to be using wine. So you might be asking, what is wine? Well, if you go over to this website up here at winehq.org, that's the wine database. You can find, app ratings, all the dependencies to install a certain app using wine, everything else over here. As well as forums, and a bug tracker. Essentially, if you read all of this, and I'm not gonna read every single word or anything like that. If you go over here and you read all this, you'll learn more about wine. But what it does is it acts as a compatibility layer that translates Windows commands, the Windows API over to the Linux equivalent. That's all it does. So. Think of it sort of as an emulator, but not quite. So let's go ahead and you might be asking yourself, what's a PPA? I'm new to Ubuntu. I've never done this before. What's Launchpad? Well, Launchpad is they call it a developer collaborative website where devs can come together and collaborate on software. I don't know if they have some sort of revision control, but I'm pretty sure they do. But for an end user standpoint, so like just regular Joe Blow, Launchpad is a website where developers post projects, they post applications, and since it's run by Canonical, the developer and maintainer of Ubuntu, what it does is it allows developers to push updates using Ubuntu's update center, or like in Linux Mint, the control center, the update center, that sort of thing. So once you add a developer's application, so like let's say you're adding Gwibber. Gwibber's a really good one. I think that's used for Twitter or something like that. Once you add that PPA to your software sources, to your repository, every time that an update is released by that developer, it'll be pushed directly to your update center and you can update it. So you don't have to go and download a new version every time an update's released. Plus it allows developers to track bugs better. So that's all Launchpad and PPA is. It's just a way to get software that wasn't included in your main repository. So probably asking, well, how do you add a PPA? Well, for every PPA page, they're going to have this link right here. It's going to have the user and the application they're working on, the application you want to add. So you're going to run this command: sudo add apt repository PPA : user / project. So like they're using the Gwibber example right here. So PPA Gwibber daily / PPA. There you go. So now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, did want to mention a couple things here about crossover. Crossover over at Code Weavers, they're the guys they're like a commercial version of Wine. Um, it's awesome software. If you're going to be trying to run a lot of Windows software on Linux, I recommend you go over there and you download a trial of their version of Wine, and if you like it, buy it. It is awesome. You know, the way that it handles programs, and you can install, different Wine prefixes. So like, if you're running a program that needs a certain set of dependencies, but you have a different program, and if you install those dependencies, it'll break it. Well, they have a way of doing it to where you actually have separate versions of Wine. So it is amazing software. I recommend you support them. But again, go over and try it. If you don't like it, whatever. You're not running a lot of Windows software, don't worry about it. But that will not work with League of Legends. If you're using Play on Linux, which is kind of like crossover, but it's free, it won't work with League of Legends. So the first thing you'll want to do is go over to unixblogger.wordpress.com. This is a website run by a German developer named Recon. What he has done is he's taken vanilla Wine, the source code for Wine, and he has applied patches to make League of Legends run under Wine. So if you were to just download regular Wine for your system, League of Legends still wouldn't work. You have to apply certain patches, and then you have to recompile it. It really is kind of a headache. So he's made this really simple. What you're going to do is you're going to head over to his Launchpad site. Okay? And you'll notice that he has a PPA list right here. So you're just going to copy this right here. You're going to open up a fresh terminal. And you are going to need your sudo password. You're going to need your root password. So we're going to type in sudo add apt repository, and then we're going to paste that link that we just copied. Hit enter. It's going to ask you for your password, and congratulations, you just added this to your software sources. Now we're going to do sudo apt-get update, because anytime you add a new source, a new repository to your software sources, you have to refresh them. So we're just going to go ahead and refresh it. Otherwise, if you try to install the program that you just added the repository for, it's not going to pop up. So we're going to do sudo apt-get install wine LOL. And for the sake of time, I have already installed this on the machine. Once you run this command, if this is your first time, and I would assume so since you're watching a tutorial on this, it's going to start downloading the package, and then it's going to ask you if you want to install. Just type in Y and hit enter, and you'll install it. Now the next thing you'll want to do is you'll want to install cab extractor. So sudo apt-get install cab extract. Cab extractor is used to essentially decompress cab files. Cab files are used in Windows installers. Now Linux Mint comes with cab extractor installed. Ubuntu 11.04, the version I'm running in this virtual machine, did not. So you'll want to check. If you run this process, it's already installed, it'll pop up like this. If not, it'll start downloading the package and ask you if you want to install it. So the next process is wine lol deps. This is going to begin to install the dependencies needed to run League of Legends. Now essentially what this is doing is this is running a little utility called Winetricks. And Winetricks is it's a little utility that goes to a repository where it has all of these installer files for Windows programs that Wine will need. So the first thing it's going to ask you to install is the Gecko HTML